evidently this was important enough to you. You're going to all the work of recording the interviews and stuff like that.
I don't
What
think
encouraged you to do that?
It didn't start out that way. No, I didn't come to really. It was kind of an afterthought to bring the camera along, and then after I got it, I guess after going out to the cemetery, I mean that's where I went first. I went out to the cemetery, and I just standing there and thinking about Grandma and Grandpa, and it's like, wow, this kind of had a special meaning to it, you know, being that's really why we're here, because those people, they're the people that started this all, and we're all here again. And so are they. You know, today I went out and saw Ed's grave, and I thought, you know, and then I started thinking, well, I'm going to put this together so that it's kind of a documentary kind of deal of this, how this family really got started, you know. And so I said I want Ed to be part of it too, because Ed was such a great guy, you know. So we went out and saw where Ed was buried today. So kind of miss him. He was a hell of a guy too.
We had that reunion in, what was it, 65, my mom said they'll never all be together again until we die. All of her kids. And then when Dad died, we were all together. And then she said, see, I told you. They'd never be all together again until we died. So whether that would have made him happy, I really don't know. Like I say, I left as a teenager, and Dad was never one to talk about things like that. If Mom talked to anyone, it wasn't to me, because we weren't close, and that she would have talked about such things to me.
When you left, did they say anything? Did your dad say anything to you, or is it just that you got up and left?
I don't think that's a good question to ask me.
Oh, okay.
Because when I left home, I left with my cousin. I went down by Chinook Field to go to work, and I must have only been, I don't know if I was 16 or 17, and I was going to go down there and I was going to work in a restaurant, and Jean was overseas at the time. And so when I got ready to go, they came by to pick me up, and my dad was out there. He was laying under a piece of machinery. I don't even know what it was, if it was a plow or what it was, and he was working on it, and I went out and I said, well, goodbye, Dad. He didn't even look at me.
Do you think that's because he didn't want to say goodbye?
Well, now perhaps I can see that, but at that time it really hurt. So you better change the subject.
Well, I asked all your sisters if they had one thing they could say to their folks, face to face, what would it be? What would you say to them?
Well, that I love him and that we missed him. And of course, sooner or later we all have to go. You know, it's my mother was such a good person, you know. And of course, Dad was too. He was just didn't show it. And most everybody loves their parents, but the thing is that we need to show them while they're here. Love me while I'm here, so I know it. And we don't do that. I think we're all guilty of it.
That's probably true. Did, you know, we all expect that there's a logical progression of order that people pass away. And it's usually folks pass away before we do. And we pass on before our younger brothers and sisters do. And in your case, you had a sister die at such a young age. Did that have any effect on you?
Well, I think it did on all of us because, first of all, we weren't prepared for it because it was such a sudden thing. And then you think, why should it be her when she had such a short life? And I don't know if you mean it that way or if you mean, does that mean, well, no, we didn't die in order, is it past my time?
No, well, as it kind of put you in grips with your mortality, I guess that's, you know.
Well, I realize that, that we can go any day, that you use, as I heard this saying, that yesterday is the past, tomorrow is the future, and today is a gift, so you live it to the fullest, because tomorrow you could be gone. And I do think that that's another thing that we all fail to realize this, and then when someone is taken so suddenly, well, perhaps maybe because in both cases, in Ed's case and in Verna's case, it was such a sudden thing, we're really not prepared for it. And if we keep that thought in mind that any one of us could be gone tomorrow, perhaps it wouldn't take such a toll on us when we do lose someone, because death is a natural thing. It's something we're all going to have to go through sooner or later.
Why did you go back to the reunion?
Why did I go back?
So it wasn't to see your sisters, because you pretty well
I
could
had
see all
to
them out where
see
you
them.
live.
But I went back just to see them all. We go back every year to see them, those that we can. And as you get older, family becomes more meaningful too. When you're younger, you're so busy with your families, with your jobs, and we like to do things to have fun and stuff when we're younger. When you get older, these things don't mean nothing to you anymore. The families become the most important thing. And so, of course, one time we had a family reunion, they did, and it was all of my mother's family. And I didn't go back to it. And I've been sorry ever since, because some of them people I haven't seen since I was a child. Some of them are gone, and I've always regretted that I didn't go back. Even they had a school reunion one time of all of us at that little school that had gone there, and I didn't go back for that too, because I had the same problem that everybody else, the young people have now. I had a job. I couldn't go there and do that and also have a vacation and go see my children, but I've also regretted that. And so when you get an opportunity to have all of a family together, do your best to try to go to it, because you never know when some of those people will be gone, and you may never get to know them.
Anything you want to tell all my cousins?
I just said I love them all, and I do. I mean, I hope that they all realize that I do.
That?
But everybody, I'm asking the aunts different questions than I asked my cousins. My cousins had to tell me about their grandparents, but I want you to tell me about Ed and Laverne. Verna May, you know.
Oh, uh-huh.
So, what do you remember of Ed, and what do you remember of Verna May? Because Verna was the youngest, Ed was the oldest.
Yeah.
So, you were probably left home, or were you still on the farm when Verna was?
See, I'm 10 years older than Verna. So, you know, I mean, when I left, she was only 10. And then she didn't come back for so many years. You know, it must have been, I don't even know, 20 years before I'd seen her again. You know, I mean, I didn't get to see her very often. She never had the money to come home. So, and I came home every year, but I didn't get to see her. I didn't really get to see her then. Of course, she was at our wedding and things like that, you know. Because Bob and I came back up here to get married. She was at our wedding. And, I don't...
Of the sisters, Irene seems to be the closest to age, so she seemed to be...
Oh, yeah,
to know.
She is. She's the one who's just older than Verna.
Now, when Ed was how much older than you?
Oh, Ed was 4 years older than me.
Only 4 years.
I spent a lot. I ran in the same circle of friends that Ed did. I mean, he was just, you know, I was very, very close to him. Very close to him.
Were you a tag along?
He took me places with him. He just always looked after me. He looked after me. He was like, he was the big brother. He was such a caring person, such a soft, sentimental person that, you know, he just was, you know, and he loved to fish, and he loved to have fun. We would go places, we would have a roaring good time. You know, I mean, actually going out in the same crowd. You know, and as we were growing up, he was like that. He was always protective of me, and he just...
Was he a wild teenager, or was he more of a just gentlemanly type of guy?
Ed was never. He was not a wild teenager at all, and beloved by so many people. As a matter of fact, there's a friend of ours that we went to school with who came to our reunion last year because he lives in Atlanta, and his words for Ed were that he always considered him Mr. Jasper, because the town of Jasper, everybody loved Ed. He was friends with everybody, he'd do anything for anybody, and the whole town loved him. The way they loved my mother. There's half of the kids in the town called Grandma Corey. And they felt the same way about him. He was just, there was nobody that didn't like him. Nobody. It's just the kind of a person he was. And even Grandpa, you know, he was...
How do you treat Ed?
Steve, he should have a halo 6 foot wide and 10 foot high. He should. Can you imagine all those years, and none of us never said to him, "You're not my son. You're not my son." Never treated him like he was any different than any of the rest of us. And to me, I think that alone is something that very few men could do.
Oh, I agree with you.
You know, I mean, I'm not saying he didn't get angry with Ed at times, you know, but he seemed like as if he got angry less at Ed than he did at Tom. You know, he just really, really did treat him just perfect, just super. You know, he never had to spank Ed. He get after Ed. He was just, you know, and Ed respected him, and you know, he just, I don't know, it's just it was a unique situation now that we realize. I mean, before it was just Dad. You know, Dad, that's why Dad, you know, he never mistreated any of us, really. You know, except it was kind of rough on Tom, but Tom deserved it. Tom had to be disciplined differently than Ed did. Because Tom was a different temperamental person, different than Ed was. But, no, it's really, well, I'll tell you, there's a lot of people in this town that just really thought out of Dad too, who just didn't, you know.
Your father was a very opinionated person.
Oh yes, very, very
And
opinionated.
very
And he's got
stubborn individual.
opinionated kids.
He was very stubborn. Can you recall any time that really stood out? Any instance where?
Yeah, I'll tell you something that happened to me when I was 16. When I was 16, my cousin down in Iowa got married. And my uncle, this was on Dad's side of the family, and my uncle fed me too much booze, and I got plastered. And he was so angry with me and got, you know, so gave me such a lecture, and then he didn't speak to me for almost 6 months.
That's
Because
stubborn, right?
Well, he was disappointed in what I had done. He didn't blame my uncle. He blamed me because I was 16 years old, you know. But when I left home, Steve, he said to me, he said, remember, we trust you to be able to take care of yourself or we wouldn't let you go. And I said, ain't nobody gonna do anything to me. After all, I went to work for the Navy. I said, ain't nobody gonna do anything to me because I'm gonna prove to my dad that he was right, that he could trust me to take care of myself. Because those were his words.
Your mother was a big softie.
Oh, well, Dad was in his own way, but not like Mom. Not like Mom, you know. I mean,
Give me
you
an
know,
example
of Dad?
of your mother being a big softie.
Oh, she just always was all the time. She just couldn't, you know. I mean, she'd get after us all the time. She got after us more than Dad did. But, you know, she just loved people, and she couldn't stand to see anybody hurt, and she just, you know. But she really never interfered when Dad, you know, got after us, you know, scolded us or anything like that. But, you know, she
If you had a spanking coming and he was going to give it to you,
no.
He never spanked you?
No. I do not recall my father ever spanking me.
Huh.
I do not recall him ever spanking any of us girls. None of us. I don't recall any. Maybe they recall when they got a spanking, but I never got a spanking from my father. I was, you know, because he could make you feel this high just by talking to you, making, you know. But he was a softie too, because Steve, we never left here that he didn't disappear because he hated to say goodbye. He couldn't stand it. He cried when he had to say goodbye. When we'd take the kids and go back to Chicago, he couldn't handle it. He didn't.
He'd get on a tractor and go out in the field, wouldn't he?
Mm-hmm.
So he wouldn't have to say goodbye.
Yeah, he would. He would leave, so he didn't have to say goodbye. He never liked to say goodbye.
I'm going to give you one wish, and in that wish you can do or give your parents anything that they want that would make them happy. I don't care what it is. What would be the one thing that you would give them that you think that they would have wanted while they were alive?
Oh, Steve, that's very hard, because my parents were satisfied with what they had. They realized that, you know, I mean, I guess it would have been health. If Mom could have, you know, when they had to have high blood pressure and Dad wouldn't have had to have the stomach problems. I guess health is probably the thing I would have given them. Is that they could have been healthier.
Yeah, they weren't rich people, but
They
they
were
did not
happy
complain
people.
about not being
No.
rich, did they?
No, and we shared what we had. I mean, if it was 3 pieces of pie, it went slivered enough so everybody got a bite. We shared what we had. That was the one thing. You know, I don't. And another thing is, Ed was 18 years old before Mom and Dad ever left us kids home alone. And that was because they were going to a funeral. He was 18. They took us everywhere with them. We went together as a family. Except to church, and then Dad did that in later years too. You know, he joined the church for, you know, the Catholic.
He wasn't a religious man to begin with as far as church going.
No, he wasn't. No, he wasn't really.
I didn't know that.
No, he didn't go to church, and we were almost all grown up before he turned Catholic and started going to church with her. But he went to church the night before he died. You know, I mean, he went to church with her all the time. After he did finally decide that that's what he was doing. Maybe a part of it was his family. It influenced. You know, I mean, they were all kind of opinionated, stubborn Germans, and Catholics were, you know, taboo and all that kind of stuff. So it might have been why he didn't join the church earlier. I don't know. But I remember Mom, he said to her, what would you think if I joined the church? And she said, well, you didn't help me. You didn't join the church when the kids were little and help me to raise them in the church. But if you want to do that, that's okay. That's up to you.
So if you could say one last thing to him, what would you say?
I love him dearly.
You're 69. So you said that you're 69. And today, 1996, you were able to see where you were born. You never knew the farm you were born on before.
Oh, yes.
You knew
yes.
you were born around here, but you did know.
No. I've known where I was born. I've been there before. Oh yes, I always knew where I was born.
But you were able today to take your son back to where you were born.
Which I've never done before, and which my daughter's probably going to be mad because she didn't go. didn't.
And you sounded very excited about it.
I was excited to show him where I was born.
And he was excited to find out.
I didn't know that he was. I didn't know them. He was. I knew he was like his father, soft and sentimental, but I didn't know he was that sentimental as he is.
Yeah.
I knew Karen was. You know, I've always known Karen. Karen is a sentimental, soft-hearted person. You know.
As I've interviewed everybody, they all have a very soft side. We've inherited that from our grandmother, and you've inherited it from your mother. So, you know, I see that, you know, in all of us.
Yeah.
You know, as hard as some of us act and tough as some of us act.
That's right.
We are a bunch of softies.
I agree with you. I agree with you. That was her trait, and our stubbornness we get from Grandpa.
That's probably true. Also.
We are, some of us, kind of stubborn, and that part we get from Grandpa.
In the back of the trees there.
No, we used to put over there in the ditch.
Oh.
You didn't have them damn little kids around.
You guys walked to come through the field?
Yes, we came across the field.
No, the first one was a coal house.
Because it was so far.
That is a way.
What was it called?
District 45.
That's it, huh?
Yep, that's it.
The old pump jack's still there?
And I have a permanent
Is it?
remembrance of this
Yep.
place. I have a 7-inch,
Oh yeah, there's the old
stitch
pump.
scar in my eye. Yep. And it happened at noontime.
You go
And
up.
the teacher took a
There used to
thing
be
of
trees
iodine, slapped it on.
You guys need to go
a
stand in
bandage,
front of it. Check
and
the
slapped it
picture.
across my eye.
Yeah.
I walked home and it was January 7th. Colder than crap.
Will you go stand in front of it and we'll take the
I
picture?
bet you it's still works.
Oh,
How many, if this was a reunion, how many years would it be?
10.
This thing closed the year I started
I
kindergarten.
graduated from high school in 45.
I never went to school there.
So
I didn't get to go to school here.
No, it
Closed the year I started school.
I'll be darned.
My brothers and sisters went to school.
I'll be darned.
Yeah.
So they did use it for a long time?
Mm-hmm.
There it comes. It's got water. Hey, she's still got water.
Is this the kind of roof that was on it and everything?
Well, I don't know. The thing inside,
A wood roof?
see there where that tin is over there, that was another door. There was two doors.
And you went here till April. And you guys walked here from the house.
Well,
There is.
That was the ceiling.
This was the ceiling.
Yeah.
Yeah, but then on the wall right there is
Was
just
black.
a wood lab.
Right here.
Yeah, and then they had plaster over it.
And then
but
plaster.
didn't we have that, the boards up so far?
They used it up until then.
To what?
1958, he figures, is about when they closed it. But they used it as a school up until then.
Oh, then I can't even turn it on. Dead.
Did
Got
you-
electric.
Get your send me it.
Yeah.
Is it? Okay. Are you done?
I'm done, Steve.
School we go. You want me to sit down in there?
Nope.
You want her to sit down?
Oh, really?
Got down to that end, why? We were just sliding on our shoes. So, slide down, slide down. Oh, wow.
Many of them hitched there during that time, but
Well, when did this thing first start at the school?
I don't know.
You want a chunk of this?
See, Mom and Dad moved over here. Mom and Dad moved here when I was a year old. I mean, I was born at this other place, and Dorothy was born there, so she was born in 28, so they're probably, I think the farmers, what did farmers used to move in March?
Huh?
Farmers, they used to move in March, I think. 1st of March. So I think they must have moved here the 1st of March in 1928. And I'm sure the school also was here then. The boys went to school here. Ed and Tom went to school here.
Yeah. We all 7 of us went to school
Yeah, all
here.
7 of us went to school here.
You ever remember seeing anybody tie up their horses?
No.
No, they didn't have too many horses when,
Nobody rode
that's what
horses.
it was, because originally they, no.
We left the doors open, it's right on the back.
That's just like,
Did the teacher ride a horse to school?
No,
Drive horses?
no, the teacher generally stayed up here at that farmhouse. They
there
would
was
always-
times when people came here in sleighs, when I went to school here.
In the schoolhouse?
No, no,
One
not
time it
first part.
snowed so
Oh, I
much
see.
that on that side of the schoolhouse, there was a snowbank so high that we dug a hole
And we put kids down in it and they couldn't get on the damn thing.
What does he think he is? Scrap your shoes.
My grandparents, their impressions of my grandparents, some of the things that they remember about them. And although I want to ask you a little bit about them, but I want to ask my aunts about their brother and their sister that have passed on, Ed and Verna May, because I don't remember Verna May much, and Ed was much older than.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd like. What do you remember about either one?
Well, I remember lots of things about Verna May. She was like 7 years younger than I was, so, but still we were together a lot on the farm, and she was always kind of a little twerp, She never was very heavy. She was real petite, skinny, and she was she liked to be tomboyish, She would go out and with Dad and Ed and them when they were fencing, and one time they were fencing under the bridge, and she was standing up on the bridge, and they was fencing down below along the water, and lightning struck. It was storming, and it started storming, and lightning struck, and it hit somewhere close enough that her hair just stood up on end. It just stood straight up in the air. And Dad and Ed looked up, and, oh my God, we got to get out of here, they said. She was just like she was electrified. And she was just stood there just like a statue. And, well, then everybody was wondering if maybe that had something to do with her brain tumor, but the doctors said her brain tumor is something that came in a hurry and was a fast-growing thing, and that, when they operated on her, it was like as big as her fist, the doctor's fist. But he said it was a fast-growing thing, and they knew before they ever took it that she wouldn't live long afterwards, but they figured it would give her like 6 months to get her affairs in order, but she didn't live long enough for that. She only was home a little while, and her brains started to swell and, killed her. But she just went into unconscious. She went unconscious and never gained consciousness back after she, she was only home 2 days or 3 days, something like that was all she was home. So, and another thing, well, we went to school, a country school, and she was really energetic always, and she just she was always felt bad because she figured that when she went to high school, she was the oldest one in the class, and she always felt like she was out of place. She always said, "I'm the oldest one in the class." She didn't like it because she was oldest. And I said, somebody had to be the oldest, But she was really kind of special, even because she was 7 years younger, and she just always was the baby, And she didn't like to be called that either. But she was.
Did your folks ever treat her like she was the baby?
Oh, yeah, but she had to work just like everybody else. I mean, but, how it is, the older ones think she's the youngest one, so you always think they're baby. That's what they said about my Elaine, too, that she was babied, but she wasn't babied. She had to pitch in and work just like all the rest of us, and so did Verna. She knew how to work. She knew how to work, but she wasn't as strong as some of the rest of us, and Irene either. Irene wasn't strong when she was young. She was real skinny and kind of more sickly-like, and But she was so mad at me one time because we got the mumps. And I was outside and I drove the car in, and I come in and they said, "What are you doing outside?" And I said, "Well, I just drove the car in the garage." And we had the old house. We had part of it that we took the end out and drove the car in there as a garage. And I said, "Well, I just drove the car in." And they says to me, "You get in bed, you got the mumps." So I had to go to bed, and I wasn't sick. And here's Irene, she's all sick, you know, with the mumps, just like that. And I never was sick. She couldn't eat. And Verna, one time, she got sick, and we had a snowstorm. And Mom and Dad went to town. And when they went to town, it was already snowing so bad that I had to pull them partway out with the tractor because they got stuck. And so they went, and they didn't even make it to town. They went as far as my aunt and uncle's, and they stayed there overnight. And Irene and I and Verna were home alone then. So Irene and I had to do the chores, and Verna was sick. And so the next morning, Grandpa, he walked from this uncle of mine. He lived on the way to Jasper. There used to be a house on one side and a barn on the other side. And just a little ways from there, that's as far as they got with their car and got stuck. So then they walked to my uncle's, which was another quarter of a mile about, and stayed overnight. And then the next morning, my dad walked home to help us to do chores. Well, we had done the chores at night, and we were out doing the chores in the morning when by the time he got home. And he had to walk like, what was it, would it be about 3.5 miles or so in the snow to get home, 4 miles to get home to help us with chores. And then they waited until the roads were cleared, and then they brought my mom home. And then they went back to town. But you know, it was so darn funny. Every time, you know, that they think there's going to be a snowstorm, to town you had to go to get groceries, you know. Just like, and I know we had food that we'd have never starved while that snowstorm was going on. But they always felt like, if it's going to storm, we got to go to town and get groceries.
I'm going to ask you to describe your mother in one word.
In one word.
2 at the most. Try to do it in 1.
Precious.
That's good. Now, describe your father in 1 word.
A hard worker.
We'll let you have a hyphen in there.
Hard worker.
A hard worker. They were, you think they were happy?
Well, they had their difficulties, but as a whole, yeah, I would say so.
They were pretty content with what they had and their situation.
They were content with what they had. They always were struggling to get things better, and things did get better, but they both were hard workers, and they both, you know, they didn't waste. They did things economical, and they were really neighborly. They really could work with their neighbors and good to their neighbors. And we had a neighbor that had lots more money than my parents had, but my dad had a tractor. And every Sunday, that man worked in the field he borrowed my dad's tractor and would work in the field. He didn't have a tractor, but my dad did. And I said, he had much more money than my dad. But see, that's how they got their money, because they were so tight, they did everybody uses everybody else's stuff, and they had the I would say like maybe the guts or the nerve to do it, where my father never would have took advantage of somebody like that.
I'm going to give you one wish, and in that wish, you can do anything that you want to have made their lives more comfortable or better. What would the wish be? What would you do for them, or what would you give them that you think?
Well, I don't know. It was though. I don't think they had it bad, so I don't know what I could say about that. I know there's times that I wish they could have had more money so they could have did more things that they wanted to, but they did get to take vacations and they did do things when us kids grew up, but what I could do for them, I don't know what I could have. Because I worked side by side with my dad an awful lot because, you know, when I got out of high school, I didn't go out of grade school, I didn't go on, and Ed had rheumatic fever, and so I worked in the field with my dad all the time, and I worked with chores and everything and helped him all the time. So I, you know, and I know one time there was a guy wanted to hire me, and he said, huh, she can't go. He says, I need her. See, I mean, because I helped him all the time. I helped with chores all the time. But my mom really did do a lot of hard work for a lady. You know, she did. She did lots of hard work.
Stop. What did this reunion mean to you?
A happy time, lots of love, and it meant that we could, you know, reminisce and do things, and yet, you know, I wish that there could have been more here. You know, there's some that, you know, they would have wanted to be here so bad but couldn't. And, you know, I feel bad for them because what they missed out on. I mean, when we were at Sis's last year, we had a good time, and I just, like I said, well, what's next? And I says, well, next year it's Ruthstock. I said, in South Dakota. And everybody thought, you mean it? You mean it? And I said, sure, I mean it. So it meant a lot of love, I thought, and a chance to be with the ones you love. And I'm glad that we could do it.
And we thank you for it.
You're welcome.
siding on the side.
This is the kind of siding it had on it, and it was gray. See, they painted that metal siding.
Metal squares. There's a building in Genoa that's got that kind of siding on it. It's got squares like that are look like the little squares in it to make it look like bricks, but it's those big sheets and they're nailed on.
Asphalt. So I guess it's
No, it's metal. There is a building in Genoa that's got that kind of siding on it. It's kind of different. Look at them piggies.
And I'm from Indiana, don't forget that. Oh, I just heard Florida and California. I didn't hear that Indiana. You didn't say it loud enough, Dan. Forgot Nashville. Yeah, Nashville, Tennessee.
That's a good one.
And all the way down, that was where you went in with the horses.
The only one here that was a son-in-law to my grandparents.
Not really.
Here today.
Oh yeah.
And
Yeah.
at this reunion.
Yeah.
So you have a different perspective than us kids.
Now
or
you're
than
talking about Grandpa Graves.
Grandpa Graves.
Yeah, 'cause
So-
him and I farmed together for 2 years.
You did?
Oh yeah. Yeah. See, then we farmed south of Jasper, and then I had a sale, and I worked on the highway for a year, and then he could rent that half section up there, see? So we moved out there on the farm, and then him and I farmed, but I still worked on the road, you know.
Were you married at this time?
Oh
or-
yeah, yeah.
So you're married to his kid?
Oh yeah.
And you...
See, we got married in 53, then in 57 I sold out, and then, no wait a minute, 56 I sold out. And it was, or was it 55, and then 56, 56, and then 57 and 58, no, 58, 57 I worked on the highway, then 58 and 59, Grandpa and I farmed together, see? And then when he lost the farm down there, you know, he had to move, and he wasn't going to farm no more, well then, I could have rented that, but some guy rented it out from under me, so then I sold out too, and then quit farming. So but Grandpa and I, we worked together for 2 years, yeah. He'd work in the field during the day, and then I'd go out on the highway, and then 6 o'clock we'd be done, and I'd come home, and I'd work till dark. Get up in the morning, go out on the highway, and come home at night, and on the weekends I'd do the planting and stuff like that, you know. Yeah, I knew Grandpa very well. I knew a lot of stuff that most of them don't.
Anything you'd like to share with us, you know?
Well, one thing that always intrigued me was, you know, Grandma was very good-natured, easygoing. But Grandpa would tell her something, she'd get mad at him. So he'd say, Claire, tell her this, tell her that. So I'd say it, and then she'd just laugh and push it off, you know. And then he'd just sit there and grin, you know. Because if he said it, he'd have caught hell, you know, from her. And that's the way he was. But, and we got along fine. He was a good guy to work with.
Was he a good father-in-law?
Yes, he was. Yep, he was very good. You know, he was strict with his kids. He wanted them to do the right thing, but he always looked out for them too, and he worried a lot about them. All of them. Because he confided in me quite a few times, you know. Oh, I'm worried about this one, what's going on, and, you know, I hope this works out for him. And he was very concerned, but he was a man that could not express himself, you know. And it's just like when Sis and Bob and the kids would come home, you know, he could not tell you goodbye. He'd hide. If he knew he was leaving, he'd go to the field, I got to go cultivate, I got to do this, I got to do that, because he didn't want to say goodbye. He loved his family very much, and didn't want him to leave. And that's why he would do that, see. That was his way out. Of course, I guess they tracked him down and went to the field and said goodbye anyway, but I'm sure that there's a few tears shed, you know, afterwards, because I got a son that's just like Grandpa. He can't say goodbye. And I know that's the way he is. So, other than that...
When you were going to get married, did you formally go there and ask him?
Oh, hell no, because Ed and I was good buddies, and, well, I stayed down there and everything, you know. I worked just a mile away, and I used to go down there, and Ed and I was real good friends, you know, and we used to run around together a lot and everything. I don't know if I really asked him or not. I don't even know if I asked my wife she wanted to get married.
You don't, huh?
I think I just said, well, let's get married, and she said, okay.
I was wondering if he ever had a response when he found out that you were going to get married.
No. We never had a crossword. Only one time when one of the kids, there was a problem with one of the kids, you know, and he said something, and I told him what I thought, and we never had another problem since. You know, it was something Denny did, and I spanked him. And he said, you didn't have to spank him. I said, hey, that's my kid. You raise your kids the way you want to, I'll raise mine the way I want to. He said, okay. Never another problem. No, we didn't have very many crosswords. He was kind of a stubborn guy in a lot of ways, you know, but everybody's that way. You've got your own way of growing up and doing things, you know. And
a very opinionated man.
Right, yeah. Yeah, he was. But and yet he was a very generous man, and not money-wise, but you know he'd help out anybody. Yeah, and because his neighbors all thought a great deal of him, and they would do anything to help him, and he would do anything to help a neighbor. If a neighbor got sick, why he'd be one of the first ones to go help him. But you know, them days you didn't have money, you know, and so a day's work was how you paid help people out, you know, and that's the way it went. So.
Tell me what you thought of your mother-in-law.
Oh, she's a great lady. Yep, she was a very great lady. And she'd do anything for anybody or any kid. She loved children, and she would help anybody out. And if anybody in the neighborhood was sick or anything, she was always there with a bowl of food or whatever to help out and, you know, contribute to them. And she respected people and taught a lot of people. And, she just was a great lady, that's all I can say. I never ever argued with her in my life because I had no reason to. And I really don't know what else I can say about it as far as, you know.
If you could say one more thing to them, what would it be?
I love them very much. That would be the greatest thing I could tell them, I guess. And I know I never said that enough. But they were very good to me and my family. And I done a lot of work, you know, working together. I done a lot of work to help them out and stuff. And but they were very appreciative of everything everybody did for them. And they're just great people. That's what I can say.
Must be where the old barn was. They used to sit. Right through here. The old corn crib. This is what's left, the old foundation where the house sat. Looks like the front porch. Over here's where that old house would have been. Looking out at the living room. Huh. All them old cars that were back here, gone, huh? Old wagons sitting there. Probably belonged to our grandfather. Whatever that thing was. Is that a wagon?
Got wheels.
Huh.
If somebody moved this house, I guess. What I remember this house. What?
Some old pieces of cars that my ma used to play on.
Yep. Piece of an old car, piece of the old model.
Looks like a back window or part of a roof here.
Yep.
Used to be a lot more than that around here.
Those are what our parents played on when they were kids.
Here's a fender.
Yeah.
This is the thing I remembered this.
There's nothing that's off. Oh, there's a big old bone here. Good sized
That's
bone.
what's left of the
The wolf.
What's left of that fender, anything?
This isn't like Bobby's car, is it?
There's more of another
Like
door or
Bobby
something.
Braxton's car? Or is this
Oh, it's
different
this
from
whole thing. The running board.
Yeah.
It's the running board right there.
The whole side.
Yeah, is that a door over there, Doug, on the other side?
Yeah, over
Pick
there.
it up.
Yep. Door.
Here sometimes.
What is it?
Like a door?
Door crank.
Inside the door?
This is it.
Too bad we didn't think of burying a time capsule here and coming back.
I feel like somebody
They
would,
get
some
up.
developer would have been in here and had this all tore up and you'd never be able to dig up.
Now I've got a keepsake.
I want to get a little picture of this fence.
Looks like vine.
Might have been grapes on it.
Is it? Yep, there it is.
Doesn't look very clear though.
You're not into a drink, huh?
I think I drank it. Pretty rusty.
You got the pump working.
other side of that tree, Steve?
I don't recall what that thing was. Is it? You never could trust him.
Some things just never.
What are those? Just some kind of skylights or something in the barn? What is it?
I don't know. He must have made, I don't know. Might have screen and stuff because I think he used to dry it, air dry it, it's corn, instead of, having big dryers to put it in. So he must have that vented somehow. Up at the top there like that.
See them on the side too?
Uh-huh. They do look like skylights.
So this was where the old barn stood right there. Up in here where Bob is.
Yeah.
That must be part of the foundation over there.
Uh-huh. That's a neat barn that Dougie's in. That'd make a neat big old redo two-story house or something.
Karen's gonna take a picture. Either or both.
How about just one of, how about something about each?
Go ahead.
Okay. Well, let's see. I remember when Grandpa and Grandma moved to Illinois, I got really a chance to be a lot closer to them because they were living there with us than I had when they were up here, and I only got to see them during the summers. And I remember a lot of times going to Grandma's house since they lived right behind us, and she'd make these huge bowls of homemade chicken noodle soup, and we'd sit there and play smear for hours and eat chicken noodle soup. And I guess during those hours and hours of card games, I got to learn a lot about my grandmother and the way she had her outlook on life and things. My memories of Grandpa were, a lot of my memories with Grandpa have to do with fishing. Grandpa and I think we used to enjoy going fishing, and some of my most memorable fishing times are with Grandpa. I remember one time in Chicago where he wanted to try this new type of fishing, and he had a spot that he had found in one of the creeks in Addison where the carp were huge, gigantic fish. And he thought that we would be able to stand in the creek and catch these things with our bare hands. And it was like an April day, so it wasn't a hot day. It was real kind of on the chilly side. But we stood in this creek and we were catching these huge carp with our bare hands and just throwing them up on the bank as they kind of swim right down between your legs. And then I remember getting sick as a dog for a couple of days after that. Yeah, my fondest memories of Grandpa have been in the area of fishing. We did a trip up to northern Minnesota one time. He told me he wouldn't take me up there until I was 15, so I'd be able to sit still in the boat and trolling for walleyes and northerns. And we had a good trip and really enjoyed it. So just a lot of good times with Grandpa fishing.
Since you've been here for a reunion, how's it affected you coming back?
The way it affects me is I feel a lot closer to my cousins. I noticed it last year, and with the chance to get together, and even this year, a chance because we got to see people this year that we didn't get to see last year. And in some of the cases, it's been 30 years since I've seen some of my cousins, so it's a chance for me to see a big difference in everyone from my last recollection of them to now. I mean, we're all middle-aged or grown up with kids of our own, and it gives me a chance to get back in touch with it's a checkpoint with reality to see where we're all at this point in time instead of this recollection I had of us as kids 30 years ago.
You and I, probably being older than the rest of them, the farm has a certain meaning to us that it doesn't to our younger cousins. When you went back to the farm the other day, how did you feel?
I felt it was kind of interesting. I felt as we were walking around the farm, and you come to a spot where there was an old building, or you knew that there was a building, and I started to remember things that happened in those buildings. It's like when I got to the barn and saw where it was kind of the trough where we would spread the feed out to feed the cattle while you had them in those stalls and were milking them, and I could picture all that in my mind again, and then even walking around in back of the cows as you would while they were all lined up.
And there was old Talus down on the end.
It was the one that we used to always get to milk because it didn't have that tail to slap you in the face, and then you couldn't hardly walk by Grandpa without him squirting you with a little milk on the way. But there was just a lot of memories of different events that took place for us at that farm, and it was kind of different too because it was it'd been a long time since you and I had been wandering that farm together, and we used to do that. In the time that we had to go to that place, there was times that that we were out there together, wandering and doing things, and kind of felt like us doing it as a much older generation kind of trip for us, but it was very memorable. There was a lot of emotions in there too, as you're thinking and recollecting of all these things that took place. You sort of you miss some of that. You feel like it's it's a time that slipped by, and in the wandering around that we were doing, I felt like I was getting a chance to touch some of those points in time again, and that was kind of what it meant to me.
A brief synopsis of my grandparents?
Well, a story that you remember of them, or a impression you have of them, or just anything.
Well, there's two main stories that I would say that stick in my mind, one for each grandparent. I mean, I remember when they lived in Elmhurst, behind Aunt Sissy. I do remember Grandma making us bullheads. You were there. David, Bobby, I think the four of us. I don't remember if anyone else was there, but she made bullheads in that little house. Fried them in butter. I don't know. Put them in flour before she started frying them. Whatever. They were out of this world. And that is a meal, a fish meal, that I never forgot about. It's kind of like awesome. I can't even believe that I would be so flipped out over bullheads, because if you look at a bullhead, it's kind of like, who wants to eat this thing? They were great. They were really great. I remember that. But the main thing with Grandma would be, and I don't know where I was at. I don't know where we were at. But we were someplace where it was picturesque, like Palisades, but I know it wasn't there. We were somewhere, maybe it was in the Black Hills even. I don't know. I would think maybe Mom or Dad would know, remember. Maybe not, because I was the one, wherever we were, there was water down below. We were up on a high cliff type thing, and it was sandy, which makes me think it was the Black Hills. I don't know. And I had on my stupid buckle shoes. I remember they were street shoes. They were the ones that I think got sucked off in the cow pie at Grandpa's house. But I walked to the edge because I had, still no fear of heights, just like now. It just doesn't never bothered me. In fact, I always liked it. And I started to slide. My foot went down. I was at the edge. And I would have gone, I think. I would have fallen. And Grandma grabbed me, pulled me back. And no one made a big issue out of it. But I think I was at least aware of, man, kid, you almost blew it. You almost went down. And you probably wouldn't have lived through that. So I don't ever forget that. That was something that just made a big, lasting line in my brain. And then with Grandpa was like, to me, my remembrance of him was, like we talked about before, his teeth falling all the time, the way he would roll his cigarettes, his fingers being all orange or whatever. But the time that I asked him, I said I was going to smoke when I grew up. That was my plan. And he said, why wait till then? Why don't you smoke now? I figured, no way would that happen. We're sitting at our kitchen table in Wheaton. And he pulled out a Camel cigarette and he handed it to me and lit it. So I took blew it out right away, the smoke, and he goes, oh, no. No, you gotta take an inhale. You gotta suck that inside, then let it out. I tried one inhale and my head almost fell off. I mean, I got so sick, it was terrible. He told me, you smoke that cigarette, I'll give you another one. If you smoke that one, I'll give you a pack. If you smoke that pack, I'll buy you a carton. We never got to that point, because after that first serious inhale, man, I was pretty wiped out. And those are the main things that I remember. I remember the trip. that we took when he brought us, when he was going to go to Rochester. But Grandpa was kind of quiet, reserved, I think in himself more. I also remember one other thing. When we were out at the old farm, I walked downstairs in their basement with Grandma. And I don't know what she was doing. She was putting canned goods away or something, I think. I had never been in the basement. That was my first trip down those stairs. But I remembered I was looking at her and looking at Grandpa, and Grandma looked young. Grandpa looked old. He had all the wrinkles. And I asked her, I said, Grandma, how come you look young and Grandpa looks old? And she said, well, that's because Grandpa is kind of on the skinny side, so he's got a lot of wrinkles. And she said, I would have a lot of wrinkles, but I'm on the fat side, so I kind of fill out those wrinkles and it still makes smooth skin, but we're both pretty old. And then I really thought, wow, the key to life here is, if you want to stay looking young, eat.
Tell me, what have you experienced or from being here at the reunion? I mean,
Oh, it's been
what's it meant for you?
A major experience, I think.
In what way?
Well, I think everybody in throughout life, they get caught up in miscellaneous thoughts, and they never get deep into any kind of thought on certain subjects, and you don't appreciate life. I mean, how it really... Here's two people that are no longer here, yet here's a family reunion of the offspring that they are basically, they have a lot to do with. Without them, they're not here. And I think that we all forget about that cycle of life, what it really, how much there really is. I really doubt that they knew what they would leave behind. I don't really believe that they had any conception of what they were, how much they were leaving behind, how much good they were leaving behind. How many people here right now who have not seen each other for many years, 20, 30, some 40 years, and still, you know, they are family, and you feel that family, you feel that portion of the cycle. You're able to now see it, at least for me, because we visited the old farm and the grave site, and now chase the buildings and schoolhouse. And it just seems to be more impressionable what the cycle really involves. Instead of being so caught up in our personal life, which is whatever age you are, 0 to 30 or 0 to 40 or whatever, you get more into the cycle of the whole thing, which is now, Grandma was born in 1901, Grandpa was born in 1900. It's 1996, that's 96 years ago that man was born. Over 96 years though, what did the life cycle produce? And where did it flow to? And where is it going to still go? I mean, now I think our parents, our aunts, our uncles have a different attitude as to what that cycle is, because now they've reached another plateau. But I think now, because we came here and we were able to go through it kind of step by step and go back in our own memory and relive moments and recognize that those moments are due to a couple of people that aren't with us anymore. That the life cycle is it's big. It's bigger than you think. And what you can get out of it is a whole lot more than you think, because you don't spend time pondering on it. Just the relationship of people that you haven't really been around in so many years yet. Doesn't take very long to be extremely comfortable. And pick up on who they are and where they what they intend to do with themselves and what their feelings are. I guess feelings is probably the biggest thing. I mean, you don't know someone until you really get in touch with their feelings, and here is where it's exposed, and that's all part of that cycle. It's all part of the cycle that those two started. For these people, for us.
If you were able to talk to them one more time, your grandparents, what would you say?
I love you. I love you more than I knew I loved you. Let's talk about something else. I don't want to start getting misty here.
And if you could ask them one question, one thing you're dying to know, that you know, that they could answer, what would the one question be?
Were they happy? I don't think I would have. I never really pondered any specific question for either Grandma or Grandpa. I never did. To me, they were, I don't know, icons. My mother's mom and dad, my grandma and grandpa. I never really, what I really wish I could do, if I could really do something, it wouldn't be just ask one question. I really think if I could have a wish come true, I would like to talk to Grandpa, who was born in 1900, who lived back when people still rode horses and buggies. Cars weren't on the street. There were some, but very few people had them. He lived in an era that, he grew up in an era that was what we look in movies as the old days, definitely. 96 years ago, I would love to ask him what it was like, what his life was like, what he saw, what he witnessed. Here's a man who was born, 20-some years after the Civil War. Sometimes that sounds like an extremely long time ago, but he was within our lifetime of someone whose parents were of that era.
Be 35 years. 1865,
okay,
35 years. So his parents went through
his parents were
Civil War.
Definitely of age to be well aware of what happened during that time. And I would love to really, and many times I have thought of that. I've thought of how I wished I would have been smarter or more grown up and been able to ask him what his life was like, because I think I'd find that just so interesting. Whenever I see a picture that's old, I think if it's 1916, well, he was 16 years old then. I mean, I remember things when I was 16 years old. I could talk about those days. He'd be able to talk about a time that was totally different from ours, and I think really being like.
I seen a stone over there with 2 names on it, and it don't give the burial date for either one.
Well, they got it all ready for when they do. But I wouldn't see why they wouldn't bring him here.
I wouldn't understand that either.
Well, look at my folks. They bought cemetery lots, with place to bury 8 people.
This
That
place
was
for
them
kids.
two and 6 kids.
But you see, that's
And the only ones that's there is my parents.
that's just like us, Doug. We had cemetery lots in that one there in Elmhurst. We had 4 lots. Well, that's foolish. They talk you into buying them. And your kids, they get married and they move up. They don't be buried by their folks anyway.
I think my grandparents are in.
So I don't know if he sold them or what he did with them.
All 3.
I thought he got out of that.
Well, they were paid for.
They were?
Yeah, all you had to do is sell them. They were paid.
After 12, that's going to be dessert. You can't put it out. It's got whipped cream on it. It has to be refrigerated until they get ready to eat it. Nothing bad, yeah.
You can go back to
Well, the dessert isn't on here yet.
Is that a yapper?
That's a salad.
She never barks, so she is.
Oh, except when you leave her out at night, you go back to bed. And I thought, what's that weird noise? Oh, there's my liar, put around again. Yes, you got
You hear some of these dogs are.
I couldn't figure out what it was. Oh, Lyle let her out the potty and went back to bed.
Oh, God.
Poor baby outside.
Yeah, he's bad,
Well,
isn't
up
he?
there.
Huh? He's bad.
Need a new tablecloth there.
How far? Lake Ray?
Here it is. Watching what I was doing.
Oh, well. Get over here. Now I'm gonna stand up here.
Doing the
Well, I had told her of her last.
We spent most of the time out here because we grew up in this city. You know?
In what city?
Huh? In Simi Valley. And then we used to take and come back here. So we didn't spend much time back here. I don't know.
See, the Fillingers, being they lived here, they got to see him all the time, you
Yeah.
know. So
But we never really got to because we used to take and if we come out and spent a month out here and then we only stayed a couple of weeks with my grandmother and then took and spent most of the time out here on the farm.
what did you do when you stayed with them?
Huh?
You would go into town here and
Yeah,
stay
just
with
going
them.
to town to the store, buy candy and stuff because we were about, I don't know, we were probably about 16, 17. So
You were that old when before you ever came out
we
here?
very seldom come out because it's such a long drive. And
So you kind of really missed that
we
when
never,
you were a kid. You never were around them that much.
No, we only got to see him very seldom. And then once then I joined the Air Force. Well, then we come back here more often than that because I was in Rapid City, so got to come back more often and take and stay out here. So it was pretty nice. My wife got to meet her and that. So it'd be just Christine, my daughter. She got to meet him and that. So my grandmother, so that was pretty nice. But other than that, that's about. Never really spent that much time out here, really. Because
You drove the farthest to get here, probably,
No.
Washington.
No, I think Claire and Denny and those guys drove the farthest. Because I think they're like a couple hundred miles more. Yeah, it's about 1,600 miles.
It's a long way, so you must have wanted to come.
Yeah.
Why?
The kids wanted to come. And that, plus I hadn't been back here, and I wanted to see everybody, so, because it's been many years. I knew it was a long time that we've been all together, and so I wanted to see everybody.
Has it, now that you've been here, has it been what you thought it was going to be?
Oh, yeah. There's a lot of people I haven't seen. I've never seen them that I didn't even know. I knew they were around, but I didn't know. I haven't seen them in so many years. And then the old family reunion picture, they pulled that out. Karen pulled that out about a couple weeks ago, and the kids were asking who everybody was and that on it. And boy, I'll tell you what, they sure changed because they don't look nothing like they did back then.
I think that was 63 or 4 that day.
Because I think I was 7 or 8 when they had that.
This is my question. I want you to tell me one story about either of our grandparents, or both, that you remember, or one thing about them that stands out in your mind.
Her craftiness. You know, we'd get here and she'd start talking and showing what she made, what she embroidered, or what she braided, or what she colored, or it was just crafts. She was so crafty. Then we'd be here for a week and she'd still be showing us new stuff. You know, I would have thought maybe we'd have seen it all in the first night, but she was so crafty in her own way. We'd be here all week and still see new stuff, whether it was something she crocheted or knitted or embroidered. Something I appreciate is that it was so important for her and her craftiness to make sure that everybody got something that she had crafted. You know, whether it was a quilt or a, I don't know, did you get one of those braided fish mobiles out of ribbon?
No.
Have you seen those?
I think maybe I've seen them, yeah.
I mean, a lot of people got those, you know, or a lot of people got something. If she designed something she thought was kind of like geared towards girls, then she'd give one to all the girls. And I just thought that was...
What does this reunion mean to you? Why'd you come back? And what have you learned by being back?
I have to say it's probably one of, I'm going to label it one of my more bittersweet moments. I think it's sweet that we're all here. I know there's some people that didn't make it. A lot of people are disappointed because some people didn't make it. I feel lucky because all of my favorites are here. That's the sweet part. The bitter part is I think there's some people who think, when will I be back? When will this ever happen again? And that's sad. Right now, I date a guy, he's a great guy, but he doesn't have any cousins. I had never met anybody in life who didn't know what it was like to not have any cousins. No idea what that relationship is about, and how lifelong and meaningful that can be.
Did you get Betty and her family?
I'll get them back.
I'm glad to have cousins.
Now, you went out to the farm yesterday, and you never had been there before. When you left, did you feel any different than when you first went?
Very much so.
And
Well, my perspective about the farm is different. I don't have any memories of the farm, so as much as I liked hearing about how things happen to be set up, I was more interested in you guys. I mean, you and Doug and Dave and Bob, you were close when you were little, and I know that. But because of me having such an age difference, I missed out on that closeness. And to be around to hear you guys talk about what you would remember and some of the stories about what you guys did to each other, just things like that, that was a thrill for me to see the relationship of what you guys have as cousins. The farm is not something that I'm trying to de-sentimentize, or however you would say that. I mean, it's not that it's not sentimental to me, it's just that it was more sentimental for me to watch you guys.
It meant something to us because it had been part of our lives. So.
Oh, no. You can't find him? Look in the house, look in the trailer. Brad. I'm not my dog. You're my dog. It is. When I ask you, it is. I'd like everybody to look this way. Oh, I don't know if they're done. Oh, I didn't want to hear everybody smiling or something.
Something like that.
No, the other one's not good. I didn't get straight out. Oh no! I like this. That was not good.
Carlene, your arm's in the way, buddy.
Carlene, duck. She's got plenty. Bend over, duck. Okay, we done? Done? Done that? Huh?
Well, find him in there quick.
Frank. Blowing flag. Does it go underneath your shoe?
Oh, it's in order. Okay, it's my turn. Speaking of smiling there,
Hi, Grumpy.
You want to see your face, Jess? Your hat is covering your face.
Yeah.
Your hair looks just fine. He's good. Can you see his face? Not very well. Barely see his eyes below it. Smile.
Yeah, we've been there. We've already been up there. We've done.
Say what? What?
How's that?
They'll never see it.
Huh?
I can't even get it open. You want me to have your camera?
Oh, your hands are all.
Hey. To wind down.
Move it!
Oh, you right in front of the fish. Is that it? No.
Oh, man.
We need the hands up.
Hand out of your mouth, Brock. Come on, Brock.
I did the same thing happened with mine.
Shit happens.
Whoops.
Is that it?
Just got you on this.
You're my cheer.
That's the way it was supposed to be. So you're on?
They're tough.
Can you see Brock now? Her there?
Nah, that goes the other way, don't it?
I don't know. I'm trying to hurry. I ain't gonna get it.
What a picture.
Oh, I'm sorry.
There you go. What a picture. Thanks, Bets. Now you can see everybody.
Stripe it wet.
Jacket your butt.
I didn't say
Stripe it ass face.
Want that corner down?
Betty.
Get it now. That button away.
Put 'em right there. Step on there now. Got it?
Oh, I want to get Dale's butt up in here.
Hold you up. Real fine hair, do they, too?
Bad hair.
And
then just, there's a red button where your hand is on the front. That red button, and that...
I gotta go a little wider.
Hey, that ain't nice.
She's owing me that sit up there.
Got a wide angle.
Blow off.
Is that better?
That depends.
Sure. We didn't have one. We sure did. That was just one with.
Hey, baby, you got them on the other one.
There you go. Give me one.
We have to take this one.
Huh?
What's that?
Give me one.
What do you mean? You was crying when you was taking your picture.
Can't see your face.
Yeah, but you didn't take your picture. You was you stop crying on the next week. You can show me. Here.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you all for being here today.
Say you're welcome. Can we get down now?
What'd you call me?
Hi, Steve.
Hi, Stan.
Has some of the same smell.
Hold the flag down, bud.
Shouldn't we?
Yeah.
Brett,
We all had the same
She's
thing.
on her way.
hold the flag down.
My camera will take that too, but I don't
Keep blowing up on it.
So I gotta get those three up here.
Well, there's room here.
There's room here and here.
And then I could probably step forward and then probably
Don't
could sit out
fall,
here.
Mom.
Gotta get in here.
Whatever you do.
Bruce, there's room right here.
I suppose you want to go down and get some.
One shot.
You can wave at this one.
Wait.
Gotta wave at it?
You gonna wave?
Boy, hold up. Say one. The KSF1 Ruthstock! So that was fun.
Kill me.
This one? Wait a minute, my ground back there too.
Take that shot.
Yep, here we go. You get two, Patty? Karen, where's yours?
Pam's got it.
Mine, your way.
Nope, you're fine.
I got one more here. Got it.
Karen, is there one down by you?
Here?
Yeah. Turn around.
We'll walk the back of your head.
Hey.
Stand up. Turn around.
Yeah.
We'll just get your head.
What do you
Stand up.
Face the house. Hey, buddy. Back.
The backwards family you people are.
This is all their best side.
Turn around. Karen, turn around.
Yeah.
You're a backwards family. Now turn around.
No.
We want your best side.
That in your mind, that's not the truth.
Yeah, that's cheap.
Hey, you're not a bad family. That's the truth. Turn around.
Hey, you guys, quiet, smile.
Wait, one more time.
Smile.
Now the three in the back, they got three glasses, so we can see who we are.
Oh, we haven't really got to
Sunglasses on.
Oh, I'm sorry. Plan the whole thing out. Strategic. So now you look like you've been wearing sunglasses all day.
normal. I don't know what that is.
Go look this way.
You think we're turning around, you're wrong. Yeah, right.
Go look this way.
I don't know, it's just my quick see though.
Bring your mule.
Oh God, oh God, oh jeez.
I don't know.
Hi, Steve.
It's not in your, well, sorry.
Everybody wave.
Hi, cutie.
Wait. Turn it off.
Yes. 4 days off.
Did you put the cake?
Monday.
Did you put that case in that? That only had 12 on it.
I got you now. Yeah, can of fish.
You heard that joke, didn't you?
We need that Ruthstock flag
Where'd my baby go?
Wait a second. Hey, wait.
They wanted this in there.
That's the background.
Put it right there.
Yeah.
Down behind you.
Okay, get it, Earrings.
I'm a shorty. I can't stand in front of Karen.
Come over here. What cake first? Chicken or the egg? Come around the back of her. God, pick on Karen.
Wow, here's a joke.
Where's Diane?
She looks like a
Song?
statue.
Where's Diane?
Get this head here.
Can we get another one? That was power.
Back of the house.
Okay, now you gotta hold it down.
You run, roll, and
You gotta hold it all the way down. Okay.
You want one? Wow, I got a roll here.
You gotta hold it.
Wow, here.
On the wall.
It went green and then
Wow.
just right on your armpit. Just
What do you want?
I was trying to shoot you guys, dude.
Oh, okay.
They're all your grandchildren.
They're all my grandkids.
To think about a story about grandma or grandpa that you remember, or just an impression that you had, maybe something that happened when you with grandma and grandpa. What do you remember about either one? Something that really sticks out in your mind.
Grandpa in front of the TV. He'd be watching the ball game.
Yeah.
And he was the only person that I know of that could carry on a conversation with the television, because when the Minnesota, what's the ball team? Twins. When the Twins were playing, he'd get so mad and he'd holler at the television, and And then Grandma would holler at him to be quiet. And
Was he a baseball fan or just?
yeah, well, yeah, he liked it. That and even the football. He always watched football too. But he'd get mad because when the players didn't do the right thing or the ball, that he didn't like the play that was called or something.
Was he colorful in his speech, or was he
very,
very colorful, very animated?
Yes.
Was he a colorful fella?
And then Grandpa would always, whenever he talked about women and stuff, then he would always go, I only dared to risk one eye. I only risk one eye.
He did.
Yep.
Well, what about your grandma?
Grandma, I just remember she was baking all the time and always cleaning fish and just always doing something for somebody. Well, I was down there a lot because I went down there after school, between games, after school and then before I went to the games, and then sometimes after the games we'd go down there. So I was down at Grandma's.
This is when they lived in town. By the time you spent time with them.
Yeah. See, I never really, on the farm, I really don't remember that much about the farm. Just there after we drove down there and stuff after they moved, but I really don't remember when they lived there.
You came a long way to come to the reunion.
700
miles. Well, why?
Why? Because I wanted to see everybody, because this is family.
Are you disappointed?
No.
Does everybody look like you think they would have looked?
Yeah, pretty much. Oh, shoot! Except you, maybe.
Me? I look the same as I looked forever, you know.
Well, yeah, you do. That's why you said, yeah, that I saw your name on your shirt, and I had no idea. As soon as I saw you, I knew.
Other than getting to see it, did it have any other meaning other than just seeing everybody? I mean, it
was just to get the whole family. It would have been nice to get the whole family together. I remember the picture over at the other house when we were all standing in front of the swing, and we had people standing and sitting and kneeling and some of them crawling, because like you said, Karen was just real little. And
I think I was 14.
And it would have just been nice, you know. I hope we can take a nice big picture and stuff now. It's just getting the family back together. It would be nice if Grandpa and Grandma could be here. Just getting the family. Uncle Tom and Aunt Helen, they're not here, you know, because they had breakdowns, and then Uncle Ed's not here, so there's just missing pieces.
We went out to the grave today. I made sure I made part of the tape so that we got Ed as part of it. So, yeah, he was a good guy.
Yeah.
So.
Yep, he was.
Look at that. Y'all look alike. She picking her nose? What was that? No.
We all look alike? We're all the same size, you mean?
Well, you all fit in there real good. Wave to me.
Oh, I thought maybe he'd hear us talking about it.
What's your first thing?
I'm ready to go, huh? Oh, see, being here with them, I remember much.
Yeah,
Lots.
you should.
You know, I do. You could. Let's see. God, I remember way down on the farm when I suppose Betty or Elaine were born, and I stayed overnight. Grandma, no, I think it was more Grandpa, taught me how to drink coffee, and then it had to be sugar and cream. Grandpa, I think he always just had cream in his, but I had to have sugar in there. I couldn't. And I was only like about 5 or 6 years old. And I don't know, that's about it for down on the farm. And then when they were gone to Illinois, of course, I don't know how many years it was, then there was, you know, a big blank. But after they came back, we were always at Grandma's house. You know, school, we'd run down, and girlfriends would. I had a girlfriend who was a neighbor to Grandma. So we, that one time we were supposed to be in town for a dance, and we had a snowstorm. So my girlfriend got snowed at her grandma's right next door to Grandpa and Grandma. I remember that, and I don't know. Oh God. I remember the time she got burnt when she was working in the cafe. I remember the time she had that really, really bad bloody nose, and they did some packing her junk, and I got to stay. Diane went for a while, and I went for a while, and then she gave us Tammy dolls for staying and helping.
Something that she made or something?
No.
She bought?
She bought the dolls, but then she used to make us clothes. She had this little Hawaiian sundress kind of a thing she made for them, and little pillbox hats that she put material over the top of egg cartons, or you know the.
Mm-hmm.
And what else?
She was always crafty, doing crafty things, wasn't she?
Always doing some kind of sewing stuff. Or quilts. I mean, I've got a little pillow top that she made, you know, that she feather stitched around. And God, I don't know.
Well, let me ask you this. Now that what you didn't have to go far for the reunion, but what's it like to have everybody together?
Weird? No, I don't.
Why is it weird?
Well, I don't know. It's just, oh God, it was so long ago, you know, that we were all together, and I don't know. They really haven't changed.
We all look the same. Some a little less hair, some a little more, and
a little wider, a little. Well, I don't know. But really, I don't think people have changed enough. I really don't. There's still a lot like they were when they were little.
When you look at everybody, who do you think that most of us favor, our mothers or our fathers?
Oh, crying. Everybody's different. I look like my mother. And I think you and Doug look like your dad.
Who do Everett's look like?
I don't know.
Nobody can figure that out. Who is their real father?
And Sis's kids, I think, oh, Bobby, he looks like Uncle Bob so much. Karen, that little squirt, she's the same as she was 20 years ago when Stan and I got married. I don't think she's changed at all. I don't know. Everybody is, I don't know. Curtis looks like his dad. I don't even know who Lyle and Dale look like.
Well, I haven't figured that out yet either.
I look like Mom, no doubt. Bruce, I don't know. Thank you, Karen. Hey, Karen! Do you do this too?
She just came from here.
How can you do that? This is
Now I look at the parts what it costs me.
Okay, be back shortly.
And 55 Plymouth. Woman he bought it for, 100 years old. Still alive in a nursing home. Has been in the family since it was new. Something you remember distinctly about either one of them, you know what I mean? About their personalities or about...
Well, Verna and I were always very close. Probably we weren't at home, but because, you know, the next to you, you probably fight the most with. And that was Verna and Ruth. They were on each side of me. But after we grew up, I think we were real close, and we went to California. Why, Verna was a happy person that she went through a lot of trials and tribulations in her life. I'm sure I had a much easier life than she has, because it wasn't always easy with her marriage and who she was married to, with the sicknesses and stuff like that. But as far as, she was always usually a quite a person, and happy and liked to have fun and laugh and everything, just like all the rest of us.
And Ed being your older brother.
Well, really, Ed and I were 10 years apart. It seemed like we never had a lot in common, because when you're little, 10 years is a long ways. You know, by the time you're 10 to be able to do something, he's 20 and you're too young to do anything with him. So I can't really say as though I ever did do much with him. You know, when he was interested in horses, he and Claire were kind of palsy at one time before Claire and I ever were seeing each other, because they both ran and went, I don't know if they went to dance some dances together, but they both enjoyed horses. But I do remember one night when I was in Hardwick with a couple of girls, and they both wanted me to ride home with them, and if I rode home with this one, I was supposed to be with that guy, and I didn't want to be, and I rode home with the other one, and they were fighting over who. I said, well, I'll go up to the, I'll just won't go then, and I didn't, and they both left me. So I went up to the Green Lantern in Hardwick, and I stood there, and I was really getting worried. There weren't many people in that town, and then Ed was in the back, and he came up and he said, what's the matter? He said, don't you ever ride home? And I said, no. And he said, well, I'll take you home. But he was with someone else, and they were with the girl. We had to go way down by Beaver Creek and waited until this guy kissed him, his girlfriend, goodnight 150 times, and all that gobbledygook or whatever, and then he took me home. But, I mean, we always got along fine, and I always felt sorry for him, too, because I don't think he had a fair shake in life with his, but, and I feel as though later years he realized that, too, but that's not for me to judge, I guess. But as far as getting along with him, we always got along really well.
Now you came all the way from California. And you've been looking forward to this for a year. Why did you want to come back?
I enjoy seeing my nieces and nephews. I mean, the girls and I, we've been together this winter and stuff, so I would say it wasn't not to see them, but I think to see all the nieces and nephews that were going to be here, because I enjoy being around them, and everywhere we stopped last year to see them, we really had an enjoyable time. It was great. And I think, family means a lot to me.
Is there any one that stands out in your mind that turned out a lot different than you thought they were going to turn out?
Of my nieces and nephews?
Of your nieces and nephews. Not your children.
No, I really can't say that. I feel so that I can be quite proud of them all. Does it seem like with all the things that go astray in life now and the way things are, it's pretty hard. It's pretty easy for them to get off the wrong track, and it seems like most everyone is shooting pretty straight, the nieces and nephews, so I think that's a lot to be proud of, that because there's so many dope and all this kind of stuff that can really, so I feel as though that maybe our parents, mom and dad, probably gave us a good footing, and maybe most of these kids have gotten some good footing too, to have some wise training to go the right way.
Nobody turned out to be a crook.
Right, and a bank robber, a thief,
and in jail,
or a murderer, and all stuff like that. So, and most of them all, I think, are pretty good workers.
I'd have to agree. I don't see too many.
Pardon?
I don't see too many lazy. Most of them are working 3 or 4 jobs,
And so I think that's a lot, because ambition is, there's a lot of that lacking in a lot of places today. That they don't want to do nothing. They can't. I don't know. They're just like they're helpless.
If you were able to say one other thing to your folks today, if they were alive and you had one thing to say to them, what would it be?
Well, when you're little, you never think that you had such a good life. And I always wanted to live in the city. Sure wished I didn't live on the farm. There was too much work. I think now we had a very good life. The farm was a good life. And I'm certainly not sorry that I lived there. And it didn't hurt any of us to do all them chores and milk all them cows and haul all that water to the hogs and the chickens and do all that work. It didn't hurt any of us. And I would just very big thanks because they worked hard to feed us and to keep us clothed. And like I was telling Doug in there that, my mother I never felt as though she had a very good education, probably like about the 6th grade. I don't know. I'd have to, I would like to ask more questions of them and write down more things about their life that they could tell, because at times Dad talked a lot about things in the past. And, she would take a big man's overcoat and make us a coat and no pants and a cap too if she could. And I think that was probably quite a bit of talent, because I also heard her say she had to teach herself to sew. At the time her mother got sick and died, she died when she was only 16. So I think she really, really had a lot of talent. And that's a hard thing to do, make over something of someone else's. New material is a different story. So, but I think just a great big thanks. You just really never appreciate them when you're little. And then the bigger you get and the older you get, the more you see that they had to do for you, because what you see you have to do for your children. And the more that you pour your heart out, I think, to thank them back. And you can't always say it. And it took a lot of years for me to say, but
And even to my kids, every time I talk on the phone, I always try to tell them I love you, and my grandchildren too, because that was something that I never heard my dad say. And I think it had been, I don't think, I think he did, but I think it's a hard thing to say if you're not used to. And I try to use that often now because I do. I really don't have, I can't have hatred in my heart for people. And I really do love them. So.
Yeah, the time that we went fishing, which we always, everybody went fishing with Grandpa, would be, I don't know what lake we were on, but we were up fishing, and, yeah, thanks a lot, Patty. Grandpa was fishing over on one side of we were out on a point, I think, and Grandpa was fishing on one side of it, and he didn't want to be bothered by the kids. And Grandma and I were fishing in one area, and I don't know how old I was. I was little, but we were fishing, and she told me I had a bite on the line, and I went to pulling, and I couldn't feel anything. She says, "Oh, I must have been mistaken." So then we went a few minutes longer, and all of a sudden, my bobber started going under the water, and when I reeled it in, I had 2 fish on one line, and the first one had bit the hook and it went through his gill, and he was just on the line, going up the line. That's why I couldn't feel him when I started to reel in. And the second one bit the hook and it was sunk through his mouth. That was probably the one thing. And Grandpa would not believe it. Grandma tried to convince him that I caught 2 fish on one line, and he would not believe it for nothing. He kept saying, "Oh, you guys fixed it. You rigged it." She's hollering and hollering. He come walking around there, and I had 2 fish on one line. She says, "Oh, I know you guys put them on there. You put them on there." He would never believe it that I did that. That's probably the one story that I remember.
What does this reunion mean to you then? I mean, what
does it mean to me?
Yeah, I mean to come back and.
Oh, I think it was just, I enjoyed coming back and seeing all the family and all the relatives. You know, some of them I haven't seen for almost 20 years. It's hard to believe after coming back almost every year when we moved to California, you know, and not, but yet, and then as you get older, it seems like, you know, you get back less and less, and you see, you know, fewer and fewer and stuff. And, it's just nice to come back and see all the family and get together. I think we should try to do it more often. I enjoy it. So.
thing I remember most about Grandpa is he told me how to catch a squirrel. And how you catch a squirrel is you run after him and you put salt on his tail. And if you put salt on his tail, then he'll come right to you. And I believed that story for a long time until I realized that once you got close enough to put salt on his tail, then you'd have the squirrel. And I remember he'd sing Barney Google with his goo-goo googly eyes and his false teeth fall to the bottom of his mouth. That was funny. And Grandma, I just remember her always taking the time to play a game of cards, and I'd help her do her laundry. We'd say, we have to get our work done. And I'd help her do laundry and cook dinner, and then I'd make my mom stay with, so this is my day with Grandma. And we'd have our own special day. And then we'd sit and play canasta or some kind of card game.
Good. What does the reunion mean to you? Why did you come?
Why did I come? Because I love family. That's all we got in life is family and love. Good time.
Good answer.
That's it. Turned off.
Yeah. I remember how Grandma and Grandpa both had time for their grandchildren. Grandma's grandchildren always come first, whether it was playing cards or games. That was more important to her than housework. She always had time for her grandkids, whether they lived in town or whether they were out of state. I enjoyed all the times fishing with Grandpa.
Did he teach you to fish?
No, I don't know if he really taught me how to fish. I'm an impatient fisherman, so he probably got on my case more. One thing I still have is when Mom and Dad lived on Thurrows. Grandpa used to work for Dad, and he come to work one day and ran over my dump truck.
He ran over your dump truck?
Ran over my dump truck because it was out of the house yard. And he went and bought me a new one, and to this day I have it. One special thing that one special thing is years ago when they come to California, because Grandpa snored so much, Grandma couldn't go to bed after Grandpa. And she said, well, you know, he's sleeping and I'll never get to sleep. So Mom asked me if I would sleep with Grandpa that night because Grandma couldn't sleep. She went to sleep in my bed. I said, sure, it's no problem. So I went to bed and I fell asleep. And sometime in the middle of the night, Grandpa woke up, rolled over, gave me a kiss on the cheek and says, I love you, Mom, and rolled over and went back to sleep. And this is all special.
How come you came back for the reunion?
I miss everybody.
Have we all changed a lot?
We've all changed. Whether it's for the better or the worse, we've all changed. You know, I haven't been back here in 12 years. And there are some I haven't seen since way before. My cousin's kids you don't recognize because they were such toddlers that they changed so much. I'm very family oriented, and it's wonderful seeing everybody together. I really enjoy it. Last year when Aunt Sis had it, it was just super. We had a good time, everybody enjoyed themselves. It's a shame we all let ourselves get so spread out.
You got it.
But everybody has their life, and you know, we get involved in our own world, and it doesn't get forgotten, it just gets put aside. But we're all here because evidently it's important to us. And I've had a lot of fun. I hope everybody else has.
Well, let's see. I remember spending a lot of time at Grandma and Grandpa's after school. sitting in her chair in the corner doing my homework on her little chalkboard that would flip down into a desk.
This is when they lived in town?
Uh-huh. A lot of times we did that. After school we'd go stay until Mom would come to town that night. And Grandpa, besides all his fishing, I remember Elaine did an interview on him one time on the Prohibition, and we still got a tape of that, of him talking about that. And that's something that always sticks in my mind.
Prohibition?
Yeah. When the country was dry, and the bootleggers and...
Did he have anything to do with bootlegging? Or
well,
was he just a drinker?
He never admitted to having anything to do with it. But we still have the tape around someplace of him talking about the Prohibition. That's something that always sticks in my mind.
Huh. Oh, we'd all like to see that, I'll bet you.
I don't know where. It's just a recording. It's not a videotape. But it's around here someplace.
Did were you excited about this reunion?
Yeah, I was.
And why did?
Just because I haven't seen some of them for 20, 25 years. I think it's neat to have a family all together.
Are you surprised at anything or anyone?
Oh, not really, I don't think. I hear about everybody from the aunts that come home all the time, so I really kind of know what everybody does anyway. So I'm not really surprised about everybody.
And we all look the way you think we should look?
Well, I've seen pictures, so I guess I've kind of kept up on seeing pictures of people too.
Was there any goal that you set for this reunion? Some people said, well, they set a goal to talk to all their cousins or not.
Each other again.
I think everybody said that.
Yeah.
Wants to do it more often.
I don't know, family means too much to stay away that long.
Alex! Come back over here!
Tell me a story or something you remember about either Grandpa or Grandma, either one or both of them together or separately, or something that you did together or something that was unique about them.
Well, we got a lot of chances to be with Grandpa and Grandma, more than you guys ever did. So I have a lot of memories of Grandpa and Grandma. Pretty special people because we didn't have no grandparents on the other side. Grandpa, I can always remember the buckets and buckets of fish he used to bring home. And I miss them dearly today. I mean, he used to bring home 5 gallon buckets full of perch.
You missed the fish or the Grandpa?
Oh, I miss Grandpa too.
Okay.
Miss the perch. They could always fry them up so good. Grandma could always cut up little potatoes. She was so particular and had little potatoes and fried them up nice and crisp. And you had nice crisp perch. I guess what I remember about Grandma is always making cookies with her. Going there after school, in between when Mom could pick you up. And going there when you were sick from school. And she always babied you. I always remember Grandpa and Grandma coming out here, and we butchered chickens in the summer. And Grandpa always had his garden, or a garden out here, because he didn't have enough big enough spot in town for his. Planting potatoes with Grandpa. Of course, always stories that he could tell us.
I did hear your interview with him about bootlegging.
Yeah, but that was really sad. I'd never do that again, because what happened is I did it for a history class, like I think 7th grade. Ninth grade history class, I think it was. So anyway, I went and I talked to Grandpa about it. Would he tell me stuff about this? Because we were studying the bootlegging era and stuff like that. And he told me all this kind of stuff, because he goes, well, what kind of questions are you going to ask me? So then I told him, and he would tell me all this stuff, and I said, okay, I'm going to turn on the tape. You just tell me the same thing you just told me. And he never did. And then he really hushed up and got really quiet. Because I had already heard stories from Mom, you know, how the still was in the closet and how he buried the bootleg down in the posts at the farm along the creek and stuff. So I'd always heard all these stories before, but so he didn't tell us, you know, half of what he should have. But it was still a fun thing to do. I mean, I still got the memories, got the tape and stuff. I think on that same tape was Grandma's birthday, 80th birthday.
I don't know, was it?
And I think so. And there's songs that was girls sang and stuff on there. We taped that and kept that too.
Oh.
I think some songs, some poems and stuff like that.
You had to do a lot of work for this reunion. I heard you were working hard.
Not so bad.
What does it mean, us all getting together to you?
A lot. I guess I was kind of disappointed because more of them couldn't show up. I guess I wanted a reunion back like we had when I was probably only 5, 6 years old. That I was wishing
64, I think, was
one time that we all could get back together again. But I know that's never going to be possible. We're all too many of us, too spread out. Kind of hurt that to think that some other important things like a ball game is more important than seeing your family. You know, it's who knows if we'll ever have it again. You know, so I really wanted everybody to come, but I guess it just don't work that way. And where can you have it that everybody can come? You know, so yeah, there's so many relatives that you don't know nothing about either, and if you don't get to meet them and see them, you don't learn about them either.
Have you been disappointed in any of them so far?
No.
That have showed up?
Disappointed that they didn't come.
That they
Some
didn't
of them
come.
didn't come. You know.
So far, everybody's like you expected them?
Yeah. And see, I got to go down that one last summer too, down in Ruthstock, 95, down in Aunt Sis's, and really glad that I got to do that, because then I got to see some down there too that didn't make it up here, and you know, that don't make it up here. Like we used to see everybody every summer. I guess we were lucky because we lived here by Grandma and Grandpa, and we could get to see them when they all come.
Hi, Lyle.
Hi.
What I want you to do is tell me about your grandparents.
About my grandparents?
About Grandma and Grandpa Graves. Either a story that you remember about them or your impressions of them, what you remember them being like. Maybe something they did for you or didn't do for you.
Well, my grandpa and grandma did a lot for me. I think they, when I was a kid, I was sick a lot from school. I was down there every once in a while during school hours, and I stayed down there until Mom and Dad could come and get me. And I always liked going down to Grandpa and Grandma's because I helped them out whenever I could. I did. I helped them with the garden, and I liked helping Grandpa catch night crawlers. And well, Grandma was the one that liked the garden the most, but I liked helping Grandma plant the garden. That's what I did the most. I loved fishing with Grandpa. I wished I could have fished more with him because in my later years now, after I've gotten out of school and been able to fish more with different people, you find out how many things you can learn from older people when you fish with older people and other people. You can learn a lot from people on different things how to do when you're fishing. And I know Grandpa, he knew how to fish, so I wished I could have went fishing more with Grandpa. But that's the way things go. Everybody's busy and you're a kid, and he took a lot of other people fishing, so. But I got to go fishing with him a lot. But when you're a kid, you know, you don't pay attention to things like you do when you're an adult.
But you didn't have far to go for the reunion. Across the street.
No, not really.
But why did you want to have or be there? I mean, at the reunion.
Oh, I like people because it's hard for me to talk to people to begin with, but after I've talked to them for a while and you know you get to, then it's not so bad. But you know, I haven't seen some of you guys for, like we figured out, it's been 30 years since I've seen some of you guys, and it's nice to get together and shoot the ball and talk about different things, stuff that went on when you were a kid and whatnot. But just to get together and see everybody again, it's a really good feeling.
Has anybody surprised you?
What's that?
Has anybody surprised you? Do they look different than you expected, or?
No, not really. Everybody's pretty much the same in their own way, you know. It's just people have changed because everybody's gotten older, of course, but everybody's still pretty much their own self, I think. But you know, everybody's gotten older, and of course we've all gotten a little bit bigger in the middle here. But otherwise, I think everybody's still the same way I remember them when we were kids, except we're adults, I think.
If I gave you one wish, and of something that you could have done for our grandparents when they were alive, what would it be?
One wish
You can do anything in the world to make them happy. What would that one thing be that you think that you could give them with that wish?
That could have made them happy?
Yeah, you could have made them happier.
I know the only thing I could think of right now is I know they were always happy when the families came around and everybody got together. And when they were still alive, I think it would have been nice that everybody could have got together before they were both gone, like we're together now. And I realize everybody's not here now either, but
In your wish, you could have everybody there.
right.
So that's what you would give them.
Yep. I wished everybody could have been there together and we could have had a full family reunion before either one of them passed away. Because I know that made them both happy when everybody was around.
So family was what made them happy.
I think
being
so.
around family.
Yep. I know Grandpa loved his fishing and that made him happy, but as a whole, I think he loved it when everybody was around and everybody got together and everybody got along and we were at a nice family reunion.
Did you clean your fish?
No, I twisted my sister's arm. No, you
Take him out of the bucket for her.
No, Brand, no, yes, God.
I wish you just said.
You're most welcome, Mother dear. Somebody put ice in there again. I mean, we had a lot of ice. I didn't think they needed it.
Smooth.
How are you?
Smooth.
Did you see our latest edition? Denny, everyone.
I don't know when I've seen an uglier child.
Ah, come on. They're not ugly.
Where's that child?
Well, your taste isn't for crap. You know? Did you ever know that? Your taste isn't for crap. He never know when he's seen an uglier child than our baby. I said his taste isn't for crap. He's a cute baby. I think so. Of course, I might be a little prejudiced, but she's cute just the same, whether I think so or not. She's got such a nice little head.
Here comes your kids again, Harley.
Oh, God, look at that guy. That Dale's kids today.
Today they're nails. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, Brock, he's trading me in.
Yeah, he is.
He's trading me in now.
That's what you get for not having a four-wheeler.
If he comes at us, then I'll take him out on the two-wheeler. Strap him. Like I used to take the kids, I'd strap them, put a belt around them, and put the belt in my belt.
Oh, yeah, I begged one off for the boys.
I had David fall asleep on a motorcycle one time. Hours. Life.
I don't hear you ask.
That's the strange. After like he falls asleep and she's wind blowing in his face.
So what do you have as far as a closing statement? What do I have?
Oh, so he's nothing on the parrot.
I say I'm thankful. You know, children mimic adults. If your dad's a crook, you're probably going to be a crook. You know what I mean? It's just I don't know. We're usually a product of our environment and of the people that were around the most. And we were fortunate to have good people. We were fortunate to have good grandparents, and we were fortunate to have good aunts and uncles. We were fortunate to be around people with some moral values.
some family values. But I think moral values means a lot too. You know, we're not a bunch of crooks. We're not, you know, I think we're trustworthy people. You know, these are people you would do business with people in your family because of our background. I think it all goes back to the people where your roots are.
Right.
We had good roots, and we got to be thankful for that. You know, we had people that were responsible people. Our grandparents were responsible people. They were hardworking. No, they weren't lazy, and I don't think we're lazy. You know, everybody's that I see, 2 or 3 jobs. Everybody's working. You know, we're not lazy people. We come from, I guess they call that from good stock. So that's tremendous.
It is. We're very fortunate.
Before we close this interview, there's one thing I would like to say. And that is that I assume that we all came here to get reacquainted with our relatives that we haven't seen, many of us, for years, and to get to have a fellowship and enjoyment with them. However, there's one who came to this reunion with a goal, and it's perhaps the only one that achieved it, and that's you. And it's because you had a thought of trying to preserve memories of this, and that others might be able to enjoy in the future. And so you had a camcorder, and I happen to know what your goal was, and that was to spend a little bit of time with each of your cousins, and one-on-one, and get to know them a little better, where the rest, and so you achieved this by having a short interview with each of them to put on tape to preserve for memories. I doubt that any of the rest of us were so fortunate as what you were.